You're listening to the Touch 'em Up podcast. I'm your host, Double M, and on today's episode, we're going to have UFC on ESPN Plus, Figueiredo versus Benavidez 2, live preview and predictions coming to you from Yas Island on Fight Island, baby. And this in the main event of the evening for the vacant 125-pound flyweight championship of the world. It's a rematch between Deiveson Figueiredo and Jiu-Jitsu Joseph Benavidez. Then, in the co-main event of the evening, a middleweight tilt for the top contender in that division. You have Jack the Joker Hermanson going up against former title challenger, coming off 2 back-to-back defeats, but still one of the baddest mofos in that division, Kelvin Gastelum. So without any further ado, let's get this started and step into the ring. All right, guys, how's everybody doing today? I hope you guys are having a good night, good day whenever you decide to listen to this podcast. And I'm not really going to waste any time. I will have Kattar versus Ige thoughts, analysis, and everything that I thought about that card. I thought that card was very, very well done. Very, very good. I loved it. I thought the main event was exactly how I figured the main event was going to go. I thought we'll talk about the main event for a little bit, and then just for a few minutes, and then we'll get into the predictions because I have a lot of fights to cover. So to be honest, the main event went basically how I thought it was going to go. I thought Dan Ige was going to look to pressure, look to take down Kelvin Kattar, look to grind him up against the fence, get the takedowns, and then work his ground and pound. Kelvin was going to look to keep him on the edge of that jab, keep popping him with that clean 1-2, and then eventually dip and rip to the body with those left hooks and the uppercuts. And that's pretty much what he did. Kelvin Kattar came out in the first round, and it was pretty just kind of a feeling out process in the beginning. But Ige kind of, he likes to switch to southpaw, and then he'll go back to orthodox, and he'll move around, and he'll switch to southpaw, he'll go back to orthodox, and then he'll try to throw that switch step right hook to the overhand left. He'll try to jab his way in to land that overhand right. More of a hooking style of fighting from Dan Ige. A lot of hooks, a lot of wide shots, and I just figured that the crisp boxing of Kelvin was going to give the wider shots of Dan Ige a hard time to land. It wasn't going to be easy to land those shots, and that's exactly how it played out. Ige did catch him in the second round with a left hook, and that was what rebroke the nose that he rebroke his nose. He broke it in the fight against Jeremy Stevens. And, but after that second round, Kelvin won the first round. Ige tried to take him down, I think, 7 times. It was 0 for 7. He defended every single takedown. Got some top position, I believe once or twice in the fight on the ground, and landed some good ground and pound. But the real key for Kelvin Kattar was the 1-2. The jab was keeping Ige at range. He was popping him every time he was coming in, which made it harder for Ige to close the distance because he was constantly getting popped with that jab. When you walk into somebody, it was kind of like he was walking into one of those baseball machines, where you put the ball in and it throws it at you so you can hit it. Every time he was walking in, it was just pop, 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 pop with that jab. Boom, boom, 1-2. Reaching out for the hands like Kelvin likes to do, touch the hands, and then set up that 3-2, touch the hands, set up the cross. Really good angles and footwork from Kelvin Kattar, but Ige's just tough, man. He's a tough Hawaiian. That guy comes to fight, and I think everybody saw that. He didn't give up at all in this fight. It went all 5 rounds, which I was very surprised about. I gave Dan Ige the second round. I gave 1, 3, 4, and 5 to Kelvin Kattar. The body work was really a big problem for Ige. It was the jab, the 1-2, which is obviously Kelvin's specialty, and then the hook to the body. Every time he would dip off to that side and rip that left hook to the body when Ige stepped in, pop, pop, boom, rip to the body, boom, boom, rip to the body, come up with the hook on the same side. That's one thing about Kelvin is all of his punches, his hooks to the body and then hooks to the head look very similar. He'll go hook to the body, go an uppercut up to the head, kind of the Tyson combination, if you know about striking in different combinations where you rip that uppercut to the body or that hook to the body, reload the hip, and then come up with the uppercut. Just a phenomenal performance for Kelvin Kattar. I believe it was 49-46 on one card and 48-47 on the other two. I could be wrong. It might have been 49-46 times 2 and then 48-47 on the other card. Somewhere around there. Either way, Kelvin Kattar gets the win, and he's definitely getting a big fight in his next matchup. If I'm going to book the next fight for him, I think you give him Max Holloway. I think Kelvin Kattar versus Max Holloway is perfect matchmaking for that featherweight division. Max is coming off 2 back-to-back losses to Alexander Volkanovski. The second fight was way closer, but we've already talked about that on the last episode of the podcast. I think Kattar and Max is a phenomenal fight. I think that the kicking range and the kicks that we saw Holloway employ in the rematch against Volkanovski with the spinning back kick to the body, the low kicks and the high kicks, I think that could give Kattar some issues. But I do think that the boxing of Kelvin Kattar gives Max Holloway a lot of problems. And I know people are going to say, well, he's not going to beat a guy like Max. He lost as a beat. He lost to Renato Moicano. He's not going to beat a guy like Max Holloway. But here's the thing, Kattar, his boxing is so clean that anybody he fights is in danger if they stand on the feet with this guy. It doesn't matter if you're Max Holloway. It doesn't matter if you're Volkanovski. It doesn't matter if you're Chan Sung Jung. It doesn't matter if you're Zabit Magomed Sharapov. It doesn't matter. You're in trouble. Kattar's good. He's patient. He knows how to manipulate range, knows how to manage distance, come in, land the shots, and get out of the way. The low kicks were a little bit of a problem for him against Ige. The low kicks would probably be another issue against Holloway. But then again, Max doesn't really go with kicks to the legs. He kind of tries to throw set up shots to the body with kicks and knees, and then go with high kicks and then that spinning back kick to the body. I think that Kattar's lateral movement, his management of range, faking in and out, touching with the lead hands, extending the hands out, I think he can piece up Max Holloway. I think Holloway maybe when he dips, he can get hit with that uppercut and the hook. And I think he's a tough matchup for Volkanovski too. If they gave Holloway the fight, or if they gave Kelvin Kattar the next shot at Alexander Volkanovski, because everybody else is kind of booked up right now in a fight. I mean, we've got Zabit versus Yair. That's supposed to happen at the end of August. And I think we're going to get Chan Sung Jung and the Korean Zombie. So there's the 4 guys who probably were going to get the title shot. Max isn't going to get a rematch. So if they don't want to give Holloway to Kelvin Kattar, give us Kelvin Kattar and Alexander Volkanovski. I would rather have him fight one more time, but those are 2 of my favorite guys in the UFC, 2 of my favorite guys in that division. So I would definitely not be mad if they gave us Kelvin Kattar versus Alexander Volkanovski for the title at like UFC 257, 256, 257, somewhere around there. But phenomenal performance from Kelvin Kattar, and we'll see what the future holds for him. It is bright, and it is bright for the New England Cartel, baby. So represent. I got my New England Cartel tank top in the day of the fight, so I figured, Kelvin's got to win this fight. Shout out to Rob Font. Shout out to Tyson Chartier. Shout out to everybody that trains at that gym, Kyle Bochniak. I've interviewed Rob Font. I'm going to be getting Kelvin on pretty soon. Rob, if you're listening to this, come on, man. Give me that Kelvin interview. I got to get him on. But thank you, guys. What am I saying thank you for? We ain't even getting started yet. We ain't even got started. Get your freaking cups of tea out. Get your water out. Get your snacks out, because we about to jump in to Davison Figueiredo versus Joseph Benavidez 2, the card that takes place this tomorrow night. Actually, these predictions are coming out pretty late on July 18th. And, the card is pretty stacked. The main card is very, very solid. You have a phenomenal fight in the flyweight division to open up the main card between top 10 contenders. You've got Joe Duffy returning after being gone for, I believe it was like 2 years, 1 to 2 years. He's been out. I know he came back against Mark Jacasey, but I don't think he's been back since then. You've got Grant Dawson versus Nad Narimani. You've got Davi Ramos versus Arman Sarukian. That's another really good fight. Montel Jackson versus Brett Johns. The Queen of Violence, Ariane Lipsky, trying to get on track in the UFC against Luana Carolina. That's another great fight. And then obviously in the co-main event, you've got Jack the Joker Hermanson versus Kelvin Gastelum, between the top 10 ranked contenders in that middleweight division. Then the winner of this fight is probably 1 fight away from a title shot in that division. So, this is a great card. And let's get it started. Let's start it off on the prelims with a lightweight bout between Davi Ramos and Arman Sarukian. Davi Ramos holds a record of 10 wins and 2 losses. He's coming off a loss against Islam Makhachev at UFC 242. And, he just really couldn't get it going. Davi Ramos is a really, really decorated Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu competitor, very good on the ground. But against a guy like Islam Makhachev, he got out-grappled. It was that Dagestani style of wrestling, get the clinch, get the body lock, take you down, constantly fighting off takedowns. And he just couldn't get it going on the feet. He tried to constantly set up that right hand, but Islam was circling away, always circling away from the right hand and getting out of range. And, that fight was very one-sided, but it was mainly because there wasn't a lot of action in that fight. For the first round and a half, they were just kind of feeling each other out. Ramos was trying to, fake and feint and get Islam to bite on the feints, and then Islam was trying to set up the 1-2 down the middle, and then eventually try to shoot him for the takedown and get the takedown. But the first round was just mainly just feeling out, and Davi Ramos wasn't really doing much. He was kind of staying on the outside, seeing what Islam was going to do, kind of moving his arms, and then he tried to set up that right hand. He tried to go hook to the overhand right, 1-2 down the center. It just wasn't working, and he got out grappled by Islam. A lot of people get out grappled by Islam Makhachev. He's a phenomenal wrestler, decent striking, good movement on the feet laterally. Islam has, so he's definitely a tough test in that 155-pound division. But Arman Sarukian, who's 14-2 overall as a professional mixed martial artist, he also fought Islam, and it was a much, much, much more competitive fight. Really good scrambles in the grappling. I believe he got one takedown against Islam, but Islam was having a hard time taking him down, transitioning from the body lock to the single leg to the double leg, and Arman was just stuffing it, spinning around, holding on the single leg, balancing on one leg, getting back to double underhooks, getting back to the over-under clinch, pushing him off. And he has good striking. Arman is a good striker, and I believe he has better striking than does Davi Ramos. It's more of a wide variety of strikes that he likes to throw. Good kicks, kicks to the body, fake and feint, pop, 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 and then throw a combination. And the real key for me in this fight is I think Arman has more variety, and I think he's more active. The one thing I think that plagues Davi Ramos is, yes, he has a lot of power. Yes, he's very strong. He's very good on the ground, but he's not active enough. He doesn't throw enough volume. He just tries to look to set up that power right hand and then eventually go to get in on your hips, pull your legs out and get the takedown. Whether it's from a body lock where he can try to take you down from a clinch position to get on top of you and get control, or shoot a takedown. I think Arman is just more active. I think he has a better kicking game. You have to watch out with kicking against Davi Ramos because he might be able to catch your leg, hike it up, and take you down. But Arman is so good in the scrambles and with the wrestling transitions. I don't think it's going to be easy for Ramos to take him down. I think he outpoints him on the feet, lands a lot of kicks, lands some good 1-2s, good moves laterally to kind of get out of the range of that overhand right and the power strikes of Davi Ramos, and he cruises his way to a decision. So I think Arman Sarukian defeats Davi Ramos via unanimous decision. All right, up next in the bantamweight division, you have Brett Johns, who holds a record of 16 wins and 2 losses, going up against Montel Jackson, who holds a record of 9 wins and 1 defeat. Montel Jackson has a loss against Ricky Simone, but he also defeated Brian Boom Boom Kelleher via a Darce choke in that first round, stunned him with elbows in the clinch, framed off, landed some elbows, and then as he fell down, he locked up that Darce choke, rolled him over, and then walked his legs forward to lock it up even tighter and got the submission. Brian Kelleher is not easy to submit. So for him to get that win, that's very impressive. And Brett Johns is good on the ground, very, very good at getting into clinch range, getting the takedown, and then working off of a single leg transition. Most of his grappling and takedown transitions go from a single leg because he wants to get that single leg, shoot it in, and then eventually try to roll to get a calf slicer. Now, if you don't know what a calf slicer is, it's mainly done when the opponent stuffs your takedown, or you stuff the opponent's takedown, I'm sorry. So against Joe Soto, I believe he shot the takedown. Brett Johns stuffed it, kind of sat his butt back a little bit to get more of a base, and then he takes that leg. I believe it's the lead leg. He takes the leg, wraps it around the calf of the lead leg of the opponent. He rolls into a somersault, and then figure fours his leg in a triangle position, and then pulls the opponent's leg by the ankle, pulls it back, and the calf just grinds against the opponent's shin, and he gets the tap. I believe he's got the submission twice in the UFC, 2 times via calf slicer. So he's Montel Jackson's going to have to watch out. But the problem is, I think Montel Jackson's just too patient, too crisp, and too clean for Brett Johns on the feet. Brett Johns can strike. He is decent on the feet, but he's not better than Montel Jackson. And in the grappling, I think that Montel Jackson's good enough to stifle a lot of the submission attempts and the transitions of a guy like Brett Johns. Now, Brett Johns is 16-2. He's been around the block. He has a lot of fights. I believe his only losses, one of them came to Aljamain Sterling. The other one I'm not 100% sure on. But he is good, but I just think he's a little too sloppy on the feet for a guy like Montel Jackson. Montel Jackson can knock you out. He's got good power, good straight punches down the middle. He can land that overhand left. Just really patient on the feet, good management of range, good controlling of the distance, fake and feint, pop, 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 pop. And obviously, getting a submission over Brian Kelleher, he has good grappling, so his defensive grappling is probably good as well. So I think he's going to be able to stuff a lot of the grappling attempts and the submission attempts of a guy like Brett Johns, stay off the ground, and pick him apart on the feet. I think wide shots are always coming out of Brett Johns. He's kind of an awkward style of fighter. I think Montel Jackson gets to time him with that straight left, the 1-2, land good kicks to the body and good inside low kicks on a guy like Brett Johns, and just I think he's going to get a decision. I think Johns is tough. I'm not sure he's going to be able to get finished. You know what? No, I'm going to go with a finish. I'm going to go with Montel Jackson to defeat Brett Johns via I'm going to go a second round TKO. I think he's just too crisp and too clean, and Brett Johns leaves himself open too much on the feet, and he's going to get exposed by Montel Jackson. So Montel Jackson via a second round TKO over Brett Johns. All right, up next, we have the return of Irish Joe Duffy in the lightweight division. He holds a record of 16 wins and 4 losses, one of the only people in mixed martial arts to hold a record or hold a win over Conor McGregor. He beat Conor McGregor, I believe, handed him his first loss in professional mixed martial arts via that arm triangle choke that he got back in Ireland. And he's going up against Joel Alvarez, who holds a record of 16 wins and 2 losses. So, when you combine the records of these two guys, it's 32-6 overall. That's a great record. Joe Duffy has been on a little bit of a rough patch lately. He had that loss to Dustin Poirier. I believe he came back and got a win or two after that, and then he lost to James Vick, and he also lost to who's the other guy that beat him? He lost to Dustin Poirier early in his UFC career, but that was a tough fight. He lost to here. You know what? We'll pull it up. In my mind, it goes. Let's see. He lost to Mark Jacasey via decision. That was on March 16th of 2019. He lost to James Vick. He beat Reza Madadi via decision. And then he beat Mitch Clark via a round 1 submission, and then lost to Dustin Poirier. So he's had some tough fights. Mark Jacasey, Dustin Poirier, James Vick. The Mark Jacasey fight, he just got outstruck. Against James Vick, he just got outstruck as well, and I believe he got finished by James Vick, which is something that worries me, because even though I know James Vick's good, he's decent on the feet, but he gets knocked out a lot, and I can't believe that Joe Duffy wasn't able to close the show on a guy like James Vick, let alone he got finished by Vick. Vick has good hands and good boxing, but that does worry me in this fight. But you look at Joe Duffy, he's a very, very good boxer, but he also is very, very good on the ground. Good triangle chokes. He can set up a triangle choke from your back, pull that lead leg around your neck, and then sit back to his back and then lock up the triangle choke. He's done it before. He's got good control from the top. His triangles are the main weapon he uses when it comes to submissions on the ground. Really good at turning that corner and the triangle choke, pulling down on the head, arching the hips and getting that submission. But he's good on the ground, like I said, defensively and offensively. And his boxing is very crisp and very clean. He keeps his hands pretty low, kind of like a lackadaisical type of defensive style. He's moving in, moving out, faking, feinting, always moving his head from left to right, trying to slip your shots and counter. Pop you with that jab, boom, pop, pop. Always pop him with that jab, pop, 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 pop. 1-2, really, really solid left hook to the body. He'll set it up, go 1-2, dip, and then rip that left hook to the body. Good lead high kicks and rear high kicks. So if he gets a guy like Joel Alvarez backing up and moving laterally, he can catch him as he circles left with a lead high kick. He can catch him circling right with that rear round kick. Really good with the right hand. Joel Alvarez, what is he good at? He does have good striking. He's pretty good on the feet. Hands pretty low, kind of like Joe Duffy, but he's good at throwing teep kicks up the middle, pop, pop, just ones and twos, kind of moving around. He's very patient, which could play into his hand against a guy like Joe Duffy. But honestly, when it comes down to it, I'll gotta give you a little bit more on Joel Alvarez, right? I mean, I can't just discount everything from this guy. He is a good fighter and he has a good record. I mean, 16-2 is definitely nothing, nothing to be, what am I trying to say? Nothing to be ashamed of. That's a great record, and it's nothing to take lightly. We'll look at a little bit more of his highlights really quick, just so I can get a little bit of a better understanding. Like I said, he's got decent striking. He keeps his hands pretty low. Let's see, what do we got? Good in and out movement, in and out. good kicks, but they're pretty slow. I don't think they'll be able to land on a guy like Joe Duffy. He's got good control from the top and good grappling, but like I said, Joe Duffy is a phenomenal grappler defensively and offensively, so I'm not sure that he's going to be able to get a lot done on the ground because of how, skilled Duffy is from his back and from the top position. Honestly, I'm going to go with Joe Duffy, and here's the main reason why. On the ground, I think they could kind of cancel each other out, but I give a slight advantage to Joe Duffy. If Alvarez wants to win this fight, I think he has to get him to the ground and try to land ground and pound and just do a lot of damage. But here's the thing. He leaves his hands really low, as does Joe Duffy, but Duffy trains out of TriStar Gym with Faraz Sahabi, so they're going to have a good game plan. His hands are going to be crisp, going to be clean. His overall kickboxing game is just very, very solid, very clean. No real wind up in any of his strikes. Just good from the inside, good on the outside, good to slip to the inside and rip that body shot, like I said. And the problem with Joel Alvarez is he keeps his hands too low. And if it wasn't against Joe Duffy, I wouldn't say, that it's a problem. But since Duffy is so sharp with his boxing and so crisp and clean, I think he's going to get pieced up on the feet. I think the jab of Joe Duffy is going to do a lot of work against Joel Alvarez, just popping him with that jab, keeping him at range, 1-2. Boom, boom, rip to the body. And then on the ground, I think Duffy has an advantage. So I'm going to go with Joe Duffy to defeat Joel Alvarez via a... Ooh, this is tough. How's he going to get it done? All right. Irish Joe Duffy to defeat Joel Alvarez. I'm going to go with a third round TKO. I think it's going to be more of a damage accumulation. He's going to just be better, be slicker on the feet, be able to move out of range to not get hit by anything that Joel Alvarez or anything substantial that Alvarez throws his way. And yeah, so Joe Duffy to get the win via a third round TKO over Joel Alvarez. And then finally, to wrap up the prelims, this might have actually been the first fight on the prelims. I don't know how. It was the wrap up the prelims. It's a catchweight bout between Grant Dawson, who holds a record of 15-1, and Nad Narimani, who holds a record of 12 wins and 3 defeats. When you look at Grant Dawson, the one fight that stands out to me is he's gritty. Or the one asset I would say that stands out to me is his wrestling and his top control from the bottom and his work off of his back. He's mainly never on his back. I should say the work he does when he gets back control of the opponent. That's probably a better way to put it. He's very good and very tricky at finding entries into the grappling exchanges with the opponent. Even against Mike Trizano, he was getting pieced up with that jab in the second round. Pop, 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 and getting hit because he kind of tries to throw wild shots and then enter into takedowns. He has decent striking, but I think Nad Narimani is a little bit better in terms of striking with than is Grant Dawson. Now, a problem with this fight is Grant Dawson, when he gets people to the ground, he's very, very good from the top, like I said. Very good pressure, very good control. Control from your back. If he takes your back, he's going to try to get your neck, get the rear naked choke and get a submission, or he's going to try to flatten you out and just land vicious ground and pound shots. He has very, very, very heavy ground and pound, does a guy like Grant Dawson. But on the feet, I give a slight advantage to Nad Narimani. I know he's only 12-3, 15-1 to 12-3 isn't that big of a difference. But I think that he's a little bit better on the feet. And I think that Grant Dawson, if he faces a guy who has good lateral movement and doesn't move in a straight line backwards, he moves to his left, moves to his right, good at cutting angles off of the cage is Nad Narimani. I think he can give trouble to a guy like Grant Dawson because it's going to be a little bit harder for him to find the entries into the takedowns. And on your way in, you might get caught with some shots. You might get hit with shots up the middle, front kicks, knees to the body. You might get hit with low kicks, kicks to the body. I mean, there's just some things that I think Nad Narimani is going to be able to find range with and find success with. He has a very solid right hand, good double jab, good left hook. Is he a phenomenal striker? No, but he's comfortable on the feet and he can strike from range very well. Good left hook, good overhand right. And he's just patient. I think the one thing about Dawson is, yes, he's tough. He's gritty. He can find a way to win. If it's not going his way, he can find a way to get you to the ground, take your back, and get a submission. But I just think that his striking and his defense on the feet isn't as good as a guy like Nad Narimani. I think the jab, the 1-2, the left hook as he comes in and tries to close that distance, I think is going to be a problem. And Nad Narimani isn't easy to take down either. He's got very good takedown defense and good jiu-jitsu. So when I got to go with this winner for this fight, I know everybody's going to be riding high on the Grant Dawson train, but I'm going to go with Nad Narimani to get the win via decision. I think he's going to piece him up on the feet. I think he's good enough from range to give trouble to Grant Dawson and make it harder for him to find the takedowns. I think if he gets taken down, which eventually he probably will, he's going to get Grant Dawson's going to immediately look to get the back, put the hooks in, and get the rear naked choke. But I think Narimani is tall, long, rangy, and can keep it on the feet and stay away from Grant Dawson long enough to ride out a decision. So I'm going to go with Nad Narimani to get the win over Grant Dawson via a unanimous decision. All right. Next, we got to move to the main card. Main card time, boys. All right, boys and girls. I know we got some girls listening, so, I got to say boys and girls, right? I can't leave anybody out. We're going to start off with the main card now, and it's going to be in the flyweight division. The first fight of the night, or the first fight of the main card, I should say, in the flyweight division is between top 10 ranked contenders. Number 4, Alexandre Pantoja, who holds a record of 22 wins and 4 losses, going up against the number 7 ranked Askar Askarov, who holds a record of 11 wins. No undefeated record, actually. 11 wins, no losses, and 1 draw. The 1 draw coming against Brandon Moreno, the babyface assassin. Or the baby assassin, I'm sorry. This is a very, very, very good matchup and it's phenomenal matchmaking in that flyweight division. Alexandre Pantoja, I mean, he has fought some very, very solid competition. He's fought Kai Kara-France in that division. He's fought the guy who's fighting for the title later on in this card, Davison Figueiredo. And, he's looked good in a lot of his fights. Knocked out Matt Schnell with a phenomenal right hand as he went to step into range. Caught him and just face down, ass up, knockout. Very good on the feet. He's a phenomenal kickboxer, but he's also very good on the ground. He's pretty wild, I would say, when it comes to how he sets up his strikes, moving in and out, kind of kind of going with combinations. He's very quick, so he tries to use his speed and his power to kind of offset the opponent's rhythm, and then he'll look to set up takedowns and get the work from the ground. He's very, very good from the top. Good pressure, good control from the top position, ability to lock up your neck, get on your back, take your back, get the hooks in, and get a rear naked choke. When you look at a guy like Askar Askarov, he's coming off a win, or he obviously had that draw against Brandon Moreno, and then he beat Tim Elliott at UFC 246 in a very, very solid performance. He was getting taken down a little bit with the judo tosses from Elliott. Elliott likes to do that hip toss when you try to close the distance and get in a clinch range. He'll just immediately grab you and throw and get you in a hip toss position. He landed it multiple times against Askarov. The pressure of Tim Elliott was kind of getting to Askarov in the third round, but Askarov's striking is very good, and so is his grappling. He's not easy to take down. Even when Elliott did get him down, he was able to find his way back up to the feet. Good striking, good 1-2s, very, very good overhand right as people try to step into range and close the distance. And you know what? Let's watch a little bit more of Askar Askarov as we talk about this fight. I'll look at some more highlights, and we'll just, go as we go, I guess, right? That's just all we can do. So, like I said, he's good on the feet. He doesn't have that much experience in the UFC, but fighting Tim Elliott and Brandon Moreno, those are two top, or one of them at least is a top guy in that division, and one of them has fought for a title in the flyweight division. So they're not bad fighters at all, and it's tough competition. He's got, like I said, good on the ground, very, very good grappling, good control from the back. If he gets your back, he's going to look to land ground and pound and then eventually look to take your neck, as is Alexandre Pantoja. He's going to look to find a way into the clinch range, try to turn the corner, get the takedown. And if he can't get the takedown, he'll try to just shoot his head up, spin around, and take your back, and then pull you down to the ground with a body lock controlled position and get your neck. The key for me, I think, is the sharpness of Askarov on the feet. I do think Alexandre Pantoja is good. He's got good kicks, really, really solid power punches and power kicks and good combinations. But I just think Askarov is a little bit cleaner when it comes to technique. He's got really solid punches. He kind of just blows your way in, pop, 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 and it's not like really solid wind up. And he's got good combinations, 1, 2, 3, really good with that left hook as somebody tries to step in. He's a southpaw, so that right hook, the check hook, bop, 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 as the guy steps in, like what he caught Tim Elliott with. He can catch you, and then he can get you on the ground and try to control you from the top position. I just think there's no area of this fight where Alexandre Pantoja is extremely better. And I think this fight is a game of inches when it comes down to it. I think that Askar Askarov is a little bit quicker with combinations on the feet and a little bit cleaner with his boxing technique. And he's good enough on the ground to neutralize a lot of the game of Alexandre Pantoja. So when it comes down to it, I'm going to go with Askar Askarov to remain undefeated, move to 12-0, and defeat Alexandre Pantoja via a decision. All right, up next in the women's flyweight division, you have the Queen of Violence, Ariane Lipski, who holds a record of 12 wins and 5 losses, going up against Luana Carolina, who holds a record of 6 wins and 1 defeat. Ariane Lipski has had a rough start in the UFC. Her first fight in the UFC, I believe, was against Joanne Calderwood. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe that was her first fight in the UFC. The UFC had a lot riding on her. They were looking to see if she could be the next star of that 125-pound division, and Joanne Calderwood beat her. And now you look at where Joanne Calderwood is, and she's probably going to be next for Valentina Shevchenko whenever Shevchenko decides to return. She has good striking. She's a good kickboxer. Good from range. She's very confident on the feet, moving around, faking, feigning, pop, 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 and then land a kick. Pop, 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 inside low kick. Pop, 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 kick to the body. Good combinations, good sharpness on the feet. When you look at a girl like Luana Carolina, who holds a record of 6 wins and 1 defeat, she's good on the feet as well. Very good with the straight punches, straight down the middle with the right hand, straight down the middle with the straight left. Boom, bop, boom, bop. But the problem for me with this fight is I think that her punches are just a little too wide and she's a little too reckless on the feet. And I think that's going to bite her in the ass a little bit against a girl like the Queen of Violence, Ariane Lipski. I know Lipski's had a bit of a rough patch in the UFC. Obviously, I think she's yet to get a win in the promotion. But, I think she's better on the feet and better everywhere the fight goes against Luana Carolina. I don't think Luana is going to look to initiate a lot of grappling. I think that would be a smart idea because I don't think Ariane Lipski is that good in terms of defense on the ground and isn't that good in terms of takedown defense. So if she's able to take her to the ground, I think she can control her and eventually get a decision. But I do think that the Queen of Violence is going to get this one done. I think she's better on the feet. I think she's cleaner and she lands longer combinations. And I think the fact that Luana Carolina kind of comes in with her chin up in the air and just kind of wings punches with her chin straight up, I think that's a recipe for disaster against Ariane Lipski. I'm not saying Lipski's like a crazy knockout artist, and Luana Carolina is good from the Muay Thai clinch, good with knees to the body and good with knees to the head, but I think Ariane Lipski's just too experienced on the feet. She's got good combinations. She's sharper as a striker, and I think she's going to get the win. I think she just outpoint fights Luana Carolina every time she tries to close range. I think she just pop, 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 low kick, pop, 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 low kick, pop, 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 body kick, and just eventually just keeps circling and moving her way around and dances her way to a decision. So I'm going to go with the Queen of Violence, Ariane Lipski, to get the win via a unanimous decision over Luana Carolina. All right, up next in the lightweight division, a bout between Mark the Bone Crusher Diakiese, who holds a record of 14 wins and 3 losses, going up against Tiger Muay Thai standout Rafael Fiziev, who holds a record of 6 wins and 1 defeat. Rafael Fiziev, I'm not going to lie, I did not know who he was before I started breaking down these fights. I thought he was just another guy coming in off the street that they wanted to give Mark Diakiese to kind of, piece up. But when I looked at the highlights of this Rafael Fiziev, this guy is no joke. His punches and his kicks are crisp and clean. He's very good with movement, lateral movement, in and out movement on the feet. Moving to his left, moving to his right, fake and feint, pop, 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 coming with that left hook, pop, 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 right hook, pop, 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 pop. Good combos. Jab, inside and outside low kick. Very, very seasoned kickboxer is a guy like Rafael Fiziev. And he's good at stuffing takedowns and stuffing grappling exchanges as well. Likes to get that front headlock and try to stuff the takedown. And then he'll pull your head down and try to knee you in the head as he has the front headlock position to just land more damage on you. When you look at a guy like Mark Diakiese, this guy is one of the sharpest strikers we have in the UFC. You could say no because of his record, he's had a little bit of a rough patch, but he's good, man. Mark Diakiese is very, very good. He has fights against Dan Hooker. He has fights against Lando Venata. He has fights against Joe Duffy. He won some of those fights. I believe he beat Joe Duffy. He beat Lando Venata. And the real key for him is his striking from range. Rafael Fiziev is good with the kicks, but a lot of his success on the feet comes from blitzes, where he starts off at a long range and then pop, pop, pop with a left hook, pop, pop, pop with a right hand. And then he'll close the distance and then try to get into the double unders or the over-under clinch. And I think that at range, it's Mark Diakiese's fight to win all day. Now, it's not going to be easy because, like I said, Fiziev is very quick with combinations, very powerful, good shots to the body. This guy, if he lands on your chin, can knock you out. He's powerful, good movement, good lateral movement, good head movement. But Mark Diakiese, I think, is just too sharp for him. And this is probably the closest fight. For me, one of the closest fights on the card and one of the fights I'm really, really looking forward to is Diakiese versus Fiziev. But I think the low kicks that worked so well against Lando Venata, landing on the calf more than the meat of the thigh, those calf kicks dead in your leg very, very quickly. I think he's going to look to land that against Fiziev. Now, training with a guy like guys like George and Frank Hickman out of Tiger Muay Thai in Thailand and being an actual tryout winner who got a year of free training from the Tiger Muay Thai tryouts, just goes to show you how good this guy is on the feet. So it's going to be close. It's a tough fight. If Fiziev can find a way inside of the kicking range, use his low kicks to stop the kicks of Mark Diakiese and get inside, I think he can piece him up with the boxing. But from kicking range, I don't think there's a lot of guys that can hang with Diakiese from kicking range in that 155-pound division. I mean, kicks to the body, those low kicks, good spinning back kicks, good roundhouse kicks, good overhand rights that he likes to catch a lot of people with. He's just crisp and clean on the feet, and he's very, very technical. And it's going to be hard to get inside on that guy. And I just think the kicking game is going to be too much for Rafael Fiziev. I'm going to go with Mark Diakiese to get the win via decision. I think the kicks to the leg and kicks to the body from range are going to make it harder for Fiziev to get inside and land. I think the first round and a half is going to be complete fireworks, and either one of these guys can take this fight. But I just think Diakiese's kickboxing is going to be a little too sharp. His management of range and distance is going to be too much for Fiziev to handle, and Mark Diakiese is going to get the win over Rafael Fiziev via a unanimous decision. But very, very good fight, and you guys need to watch this fight without a doubt. All right. Now let's move to the co-main event of the evening, a battle between top-ranked middleweight contenders, the number 6-ranked Jack the Joker Hermansson, who holds a record of 20 wins and 4 defeats, going up against the number 7-ranked former middleweight title challenger who gave Israel Adesanya his toughest fight in his career, aside from Marvin Vettori. That is Kelvin Gastelum, who holds a record of 16 wins and 5 defeats and 1 draw. This fight's phenomenal. It's very, very close. And here's the thing. This is going to be a battle of outside foot dominance. This is what happens when you fight people in opposite stances. If you're an orthodox fighter, power in the right hand, your lead foot is your left foot, you're going to want to, and you're fighting a southpaw who's right foot in front, left foot in back, the winner of the outside foot battle is going to be the one who's going to land the cleaner shots. Kelvin's going to look to step to his right to the outside of the lead left foot and land that overhand left. He's going to use that right hook to kind of cut off to the side, cut the angle, get the outside foot, and then drop that left hand down the middle. For a guy like Jack Hermansson, he's more of a herky-jerky in and out style of movement. He's kind of moving around, faking and feigning, moving his head, pop the jab, moving his head, pop, pop, moving his head, front kick up the middle, knee to the body, inside low kick, outside low kick, switch stance, pop, 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 inside, fake, bumps, moving with his hips to make you think he's closer than he actually is, get you to throw, and then he'll counter off off the mistakes that you make. When it comes to Kelvin Gastelum, this guy's very, very light on the feet, very good movement, faking and feigning, kind of lulls you to sleep, and then boom, boom, tries to land that left hand. And if he lands that overhand left or that straight left on anybody's chin, it's going to be lights out, and it's not an easy thing to stop. He landed it against Bisping, knocked him out. Landed it against Tim Kennedy with that beautiful right hook to the overhand left, I think it was a right hook to a straight left, dropped him and finished him. That was when we really started to see the development of Gastelum's boxing and how clean his striking has gotten under the coaching of Rafael Cordero of King's MMA. But here's the thing. I think that Jack Hermansson is better on the ground. And a lot of people are going to say, well, what are you talking about? How is Hermansson better when Kelvin Gastelum is a phenomenal standout wrestler? Here's the thing. Yes, he's good at wrestling, but he does get taken down, and he has been submitted before. Look at the fight against Weidman. Now, Weidman is a world-class wrestler. He took down Yoel Romero a few times, and not a lot of people can say that they've taken down Yoel Romero. But he was able to weather the storm where he got hit with that straight left hand to Gastelum, dropped, and he was able to find a way into the wrestling, control him on the ground, and get a submission. Now, one guy you don't want to mess around with in the submission game is Jack the Joker Hermansson. He has that Joker team, the Joker guillotine, where the opponent, you get it from the back. Usually he gets it from the back when he has one hook in around the opponent's leg. He'll reach around to the opposite side of the head, grab the head and arm, and go for a guillotine and pull it so he's off to the side, and then he'll take that rear knee, or he'll take the lead knee, slide it up across the stomach, and then take the rear leg and throw it over the back and get that hip, the foot on the opposite hip, so it's harder for the opponent to circle towards the knee that's across the belly, because that's something you'd want to do. When the knee is across the belly or the shin's across the belly, you want to circle and move your way towards that knee so you can get into a half guard position or get into side control. But when you put that rear foot over the back of to the opposite hip and put that heel on the hip, it stops them from being able to circle that way. If you don't have the leg around the hip, it's easier for the opponent to circle and get away. Perfect example is Dustin Poirier versus Khabib. He had the same type of guillotine, the arm-in guillotine. Did he have an arm-in? Yeah, he had the arm-in guillotine. He wrapped it around the back. He had the knee across the belly, but he didn't go full guard with it. So it was, Khabib was able to find a way to sneak past that knee across the belly side and then get to side control. I think that the grappling is going to be a problem for Gastelum. On the feet, yes, Gastelum can catch him with a right hook and a straight left and knock him out. But here's the problem with Kelvin Gastelum, and it's one of his best weapons, and it works for him. But he doesn't have a whole lot of variety when it comes to striking on the feet. A lot of it is just movement, trying to get the opponent to low to sleep. Hook, straight left. Hook, straight left. Jab, straight left. Jab, straight left. Eventually, he'll throw in high kicks like he did against Israel, but it's mainly 2 or 3 punches. It's a jab, a straight left, a right hook, and a straight left. That's basically what Kelvin does. Pop the jab, 1-2, 1-2, 3-2, 2-3. 3-2. He tries to get that outside foot, line it up, and drop that bomb on your mom from down the center with the straight left hand. And yes, that is going to be hard. That is a problem for Jack Hermansson. He can get caught. If he gets hit on the chin like that, he can get knocked out. But here's the problem. With the herky-jerky movement of Jack Hermansson and moving and switching stances and moving side to side, it's going to be harder for Kelvin Gastelum to get the timing of Hermansson on the feet and make it harder to get that outside foot to land that straight left or the overhand left down the center. It's quick. He's quick with it. He's quick with his hands. But when you're constantly moving side to side and shifting your weight, faking into range and stepping out, faking into range and stepping out, it's harder for a guy like Kelvin to set up those 1 or 2 shots that can put you out. Kelvin's got 2 kill shots. Hermansson has multiple ways to win this fight. I think he's better on the ground. I think if he gets a hold of the neck of Kelvin Gastelum, he can submit him, especially with that guillotine choke. If he lands ground and pound from the top, I think he can find a way to submit Kelvin Gastelum. And that's what I'm going to go with. I'm picking the underdog here. I'm picking Jack the Joker Hermansson to defeat Kelvin Gastelum via a 3rd round submission. I think he finds a way to get into a grappling exchange, whether it's Kelvin not being able to land too much on the feet, shooting a takedown, getting caught in that Joker team guillotine choke, the arm and guillotine that he loves to do where he gets it from the back like I talked about earlier, and you think he wraps it up and gets the submission. If not, I think he pulls him over, gets into mount, and lands vicious ground and pound. He's good with the submissions, but he's also very good with the ground and pound. Pop, 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 pop. Vicious, vicious power. So, yeah, I'm going to go with Jack the Joker Hermansson to defeat Kelvin Gastelum via a 3rd round submission and vault his way up to that top and eventually get a title shot in that division. Maybe one more fight after this, and he gets a title shot. Who knows? All right, now let's get to the main event of the evening for the vacant flyweight championship. Both men have made weight. You've got Davison Deus Taguera Figueiredo, who holds a record of 18 wins and 1 defeat, going up against longtime contender, multiple-time title challenger, but hasn't got to the top of the mountain yet. The number 2 ranked Joseph Benavidez, who holds a record of 28 wins and 6 losses. You know what? To be honest, I don't see this fight playing out much different from their first fight. When you look at Davison Figueiredo, he keeps his hands very low. He keeps his hands low, and he's primarily a counter striker. He's waiting for you to commit. He's going to slip, pop, pop, slip, pop, 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 and land shots. Slip, land the straight right hand. Slip, left hook right hand. Jab, jab, slip, pop, 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 and land combinations. He's a counter striker. He doesn't primarily go forward. He likes to take a round or two to kind of figure you out, or half a round, and then he knows where you're going to throw. He lets you throw. He counters off what you throw. Against Joseph Benavidez, a lot of people are going to say Benavidez has the grappling advantage, and I thought he did in the first fight as well. I thought that was going to be an area where Joseph Benavidez was going to be able to get the win, was in the grappling, taking him down, in the scrambles. There's not a lot of people that scramble on the ground and find ways to get better position than the opponent than Joseph Benavidez. But in the first fight, he didn't even out-scramble Deiveson Figueiredo. He went for takedowns. Figueiredo almost locked up an armbar. He almost locked up a choke. I believe it was not a triangle. What did he get? He almost got an armbar, and then I believe he might have almost got a triangle on Benavidez. It was like an inverted triangle. As he had him sprawled out, he pulled that foot across the neck, locked it up, and almost got it. And then as Benavidez got out of the triangle, he went and locked up an armbar almost, was able to flip him over, control that leg, pull him to his back, and almost get the armbar, but Benavidez got out. And then on the feet, the problem with Benavidez is, yes, he's quick. Yes, he has good power, but he's very wild with his striking. And against a guy like who's as sharp as Deiveson Figueiredo with the counter striking, that's a recipe for disaster. When you step into range and you throw like wide punches, maybe you throw pop, 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 pop. If Figueiredo pulls back and counters with the right hand, pulls back, counters with the 1-2, pulls back, left hook, right hand, pulls back, pop, 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 and lands combinations, Figueiredo is going to be able to catch Benavidez and knock him out. He's very good with his movement, and his hands are always down, but he's very hard to hit. He did have trouble with against Jussier Formiga with getting controlled from the top and getting submitted, but I just think he's better everywhere. He's better everywhere than Joseph Benavidez, and that's not throwing shade at him. And, I'm kind of pissed. I like Joseph Benavidez. He's always been, a decent guy. I've never met him, but from everything I've heard, everybody loves Joseph Benavidez. He's got Megan O'Leary as his wife, and I wish them the best in their career and their life and their personal life. But I just think that Benavidez, this is his last shot at the title, and it's going to add a little bit more pressure on him. And I think he's going to come out a little bit hotter and a little bit harder. And the problem with Benavidez is he has that I don't know what you would call it. He has that he has too much pride to win a fight against Deiveson Figueiredo. And what I mean by that is, if you hit Benavidez, he's going to want to get you right back. You hit him, he's going to want to come back at you with 3 or 4 shots. He's going to want to come back at you. He's going to want to try to take you down. He's going to want to try to outstrike you because he has too much pride. And against a guy who's as sharp as a counter striker, who's as good defensively and offensively on the ground as Deiveson Figueiredo, I think he's just going to play more the same way. And you know that Benavidez said it was all about the headbutt, and he headbutted me, it stunned me, and then that's why I got dropped with the right hand. But, the real reason those headbutts landed is because Benavidez was the one lowering the level and trying to come up into clinch range. So the headbutt was actually caused by Joseph Benavidez. It was not caused by Deiveson Figueiredo. Him entering and trying to buck his head up to get into a clinch position was what caused the headbutts. Benavidez is the shorter guy against Figueiredo. So him lowering his level and coming up to get into clinch range is actually what caused the headbutt. So he did that damage to himself, and then Figueiredo had the overhook and the underhook. He pushed him off to the side and then stepped in. Boom, boom, left, right, dropped Benavidez with the right hand and then finished him off on the ground. I think it plays out very similar to the first fight. I don't think there's very many things that Joseph Benavidez can do to beat a guy like Figueiredo because he's so tricky, because he's so calm and so patient, and he's good in a firefight. You don't want to get in a firefight with a counter striker, because if he's as good at slipping punches as we've seen in the past, he's just going to wait for Benavidez to go, miss a shot, boom, slip, and counter. Or he's going to wait for him to go into clinch, push him off, and counter. And he's going to knock him out. I think Deiveson Figueiredo finishes Joseph Benavidez in the second round. I think it's the same round that it got finished in the first fight. I think it's very similar to the first fight. I just think Figueiredo's better everywhere. I think Benavidez is at the end of his career. And I just think that Figueiredo gets the win here. This guy's dangerous. I've talked about him for a long time. And so Deiveson Figueiredo to defeat Joseph Benavidez via a second round knockout and become the new undisputed flyweight champion of the world, and eventually go on to face guys like Askar Askarov, face Alexandre Pantoja in a rematch, which was a phenomenal fight. Fight Kattar of France. I mean, there's so many good fights in that flyweight division. We need a champion. And I think Davison, the God of War, Figueiredo, Davison Deus da Guerra, Figueiredo becomes your new UFC flyweight champion. All right, guys, that's it. That's it for this podcast. On the next episode, which will most likely come out tomorrow, I'll have my WWE Extreme Rules prediction, so look out for that because we haven't talked about wrestling in a while. And I will also have a deeper breakdown of UFC on Fight Island 2, Kattar versus Ige. This is UFC on Fight Island 3, if I didn't mention that. But thank you, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed. Again, get this podcast out to anybody you can, whether it's your friends, your boyfriends, your girlfriends, your brothers, your sisters, your aunts, your uncles, your nieces, your nephews, anybody you know who's a fan of mixed martial arts, a fan of the technical side, any fighters you might know. We've done interviews with fighters and coaches like Dia Davis, Eve Edwards, Hyder Hassan. We've done interviews and we're going to get more done. Thank you to everybody who's listened. Thank you to all the fighters and coaches who have given me the opportunity to interview them on this platform. I appreciate it, and I will have you guys on later on and down the line. Don't you worry. And like I said, leave a review for the podcast if you haven't on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Anchor, Stitcher, Overcast. Get it to anybody you can. Tell them to tune in to the Touch 'Em Up podcast. I'm your host, Double M, and I'm out. Have a good night, everybody. All right.